Hello, everyone. I am meteorologist Hutch Johnson. We're eyeballing a significant storm system that, as it works its way through the Rockies in the next 24 hours heading into your Wednesday, big changes will be seen in the high country of the Rocky Mountains as well as the high plains all the way from Colorado. Now, this storm system is going to be capable of some areas of heavy snow, wind, and downright terrible travel conditions across the high plains and the Rockies of Colorado, amongst other states. But severe weather in the plains on your Wednesday and even Thursday will impact areas like Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, and down into Texas as well. We'll have details, and first we're going to start with the snow. Now, as you look at this area in detail, I have to tell you that the mountains of Colorado in the west will begin to see the impacts tonight and into very early Thursday morning. It's Thursday afternoon and into the evening, boom, the upslope machine moves on to the plains. Hi, Cheryl. Good to have you on board from Minnesota. And Paul, great to see you from Scobie, Montana. Will these storms impact Montana? Let's talk about it. First and foremost, the low pressure system moving through the Central Rockies is going to take a track right through Kansas, and that leaves northern Colorado out towards Cheyenne, Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and the I-80 corridor right under the gun for some wintry weather. And again, it moves onto the plains, the high plains of Colorado, all the way down to Colorado Springs, up here near Lamar, and on into the all the way through Scottsbluff and into Kearney, Nebraska, a chance for some heavy snow. That takes place Thursday and into Friday. And as we take a peek off to the east, we'll have a chance for some severe weather developing as we go through Thursday afternoon. Boom, from Kansas City and Iowa, some windy thunderstorms for sure with hailers and even a risk for some spotty tornado activity. Linda, good to have you on board as well. Thank you so much for joining. All right, let's take a look at this system as well. Now, you've got the timing on the snow, and it will last all the way into Friday. Check out the dark blue shades you see here in eastern Colorado, northwestern Kansas, where you see some purples. We could get thunder snow, and when you hear thunder and snow at the same time, we have convective precipitation that could lead to some very large totals of snow. Now, let's take a look at these snowfall totals on this model and a couple of others to give you some guidance. We'll look more in detail here at what the National Weather Service is saying here in just a moment. But for now, I am going to switch this over to a look at some snowfall, ridiculous snowfall amounts from this model, and it will still be snowing. So in the mountains of Colorado, let me move this over so we can see just a little bit more out to the west in Colorado. All right, let's go ahead and check this out. So Colorado, Wyoming, these areas will see some impactful snow beginning to accumulate where you see the colors in here. I really don't think you should pay too much attention to the specific numbers in the specific locations. But as you look at the metro area in Colorado, Denver, Aurora, Fort Collins, all the way up towards Cheyenne, once we start getting into the elevated terrain, these numbers are pretty lofty indeed, with upwards of 2 feet or more of snow with what's called an upslope machine. What's the upslope machine? It's when the storm causes wind to be grabbing moisture from the central and southern plains and the Gulf of Mexico and transporting it up into the mountains. And where the terrain really starts to cause that lift, we wring out every possible snowflake, and the amounts will ramp up completely. So in the city area, in the Denver metro area even, you're going to see a ramp with lower totals on the eastern side of the metro area, say out near Aurora or the airport. But you get up in there towards Golden, and that's where it starts ramping up. And we're going to talk about a foot or more of snow for some of those areas. And check this out. Remember that I-76 corridor as you go up here into Nebraska and northwesternmost parts of Kansas, that's where we could see some of that enhanced convective snowfall of 6 inches to a foot or more. Now, there could be some very terrible travel conditions, so pay attention to your local National Weather Service offices if you're traveling through this part of the country at all. Let's take a look at the national view with this particular model as well, so you can get a feel for the snowfall potential across the nation. Now, Paul, doesn't look like the big sky country of Montana has too much to worry about until we get into the area around West Yellowstone. You get into there in the mountains of Wyoming even, we're going to see some pretty terrific snowfall amounts where you see these purple and orange colors there. So much of Wyoming, many of those in the mountains of Colorado and into the eastern plains of Colorado and Nebraska and to Kansas will see impacts from this here storm system. Now that's a look at the snow. What about the severe weather taking place on the plains? Let's take a look at another model for that. And to do so, well, let me pop up this view and see if we can get anything interesting. Again, more of a national view here of the storm system. And what we're going to do is take a look at a model that goes out 2 days, because we have a risk of severe storms as we go through Wednesday and even into Thursday. Now, the farther out in time we get with these models, by the way, there's a little bit less to behold with regards to its accuracy. So keep that in mind. A little bit about me in the middle of this. I am a meteorologist who has been doing broadcast meteorology for the better part of 30 years, most of it in the Rocky Mountains and the Northern Plains. And I've also spent about 20 years in the college classroom instructing students on meteorology. Spent a little time in research meteorology as well. I love your likes. Love to have you subscribe to my channel here. Now, enough about that nonsense. Let's get back to the fun of weather, shall we? Let's talk about this as we take a look at a model that goes out just a little bit farther in time here, and we'll get an idea of the track and timing of the thunderstorm risk as we go through the next couple of days. And again, I think I want to look at more of a Central Plains or national look. So I'm going to change this view here, and we'll go national with this just so we can get an idea. Now, as we go through the next 24-hour period, you see western parts of Colorado starting to get impacts from snow. This is by the time we get to the wee hours of the morning on Wednesday. It moves onto the plains here as we get into the day, Wednesday midday, with rain in Nebraska and heavy snow across most of Wyoming, southern Montana, and the mountains of Colorado. It's here when the low pressure system positions itself in the Central Plains that it scoops moisture up from the Gulf of Mexico, and it slops that sloppy wet air right up into the high country of the Rocky Mountains. That's called upslope, and that is a snow-making machine. The longer this low pressure system stays here, the greater the impact on snow totals will be in the eastern facing slopes of the Rocky Mountains. Cool to have you on, Clint. Good to have you. Thank you so much. Snowflakes will be as big as my head. You got that straight, Clint. Cindy, good to have you on from Plummer as well. And Clint says, I'm in Wyoming, now happy to be back home in Fargo. Hey, how about that? Welcome back, Clint. All right, now check out the storm risk. Do you see Kansas City on the map? I'll put my cursor right there. There is a risk for severe weather in Kansas City as we go through the day on Wednesday, beginning midday and into Wednesday night. Now, gusty storms could also impact you folks in and around, let's say, Omaha, Lincoln, Nebraska, southeast Nebraska near Auburn, maybe Johnson City, and southwesternmost Iowa as well. So watch out for windy thunderstorms with hail, and yes, there could even be some spin or spin-ups in the atmosphere with these storms as they move through. The later we get, it will become more of a linear event, meaning more gusty straight line winds. And of course, hail. There'll be a hail of a storm. Now, as we head out into the overnight hours, those storms continue to push off to the east. Look at the snow continuing all the way through Thursday and into your Friday in the high plains. And that's when the thunderstorm chances return again. Here we go. See them firing up through Missouri? That's right. This is a look at your timestamp on this Friday. This is Thursday night into Friday morning. So storms from Iowa, central Missouri, all the way into northwest Arkansas and Oklahoma, down into West Texas. I should say North Texas and East Texas with that, depending on where that dry line sets up exactly. So we'll keep you posted on that. But let's close with this. This is what my friends at the Storm Prediction Center are saying. And to show you that, I'm going to pop up the radar here. So let's take a look. Now, we have warnings in the mountains of Colorado, and there's a slight risk for severe weather in the plains and in Kansas City. The Storm Prediction Center's words themselves says a slight risk of severe storms, very, very large hail, a tornado or two. So not widespread tornadoes, but a couple of tornadoes will be possible. Hutch thinks because of the spin available to these storms, and if they form early, we could have a strong one or two. Okay, so keep that in mind. Gusty straight line winds will be the main threat late into the night is a summary here. But again, the areas of concern with the greatest risk for some of this severe weather will be St. Joseph, Missouri, Auburn, Nebraska, Falls City, Nebraska, Nebraska City, just south of Omaha. But I do think some of the models are indicating a risk in Lincoln, out towards Omaha, and maybe even up towards Atlantic, Iowa. If these storms get started just a little bit early, and they will move fairly quickly to the north and east. So please keep that in mind. Anyone in this area, Have your information handy. And if storms fire up in your area, well, be sure to follow the latest on those storms to see whether or not they are severe with information from your local sources. Now, check out this day 3 forecast. This will be as we head into the day on Thursday. And the severe risk follows up in the afternoon. Redeveloping storm, Des Moines, Iowa, Davenport, all the way down to Kirksville, Ottumwa out there. Ottumwa, that's where Radar O'Reilly was hailing from, right? Down to Kirksville, Keokuk, Iowa, Quincy, Hannibal, all the way to Jeff City, Missouri, and down into Springfield. That's where that risk of severe weather will be. But look at this. We're going to include most of western Arkansas. That includes Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, just to the edges of Pine Bluff, Dallas, not out of the mix for severe thunderstorms in Texas. Now, the risks as we go into day 2 will be all modes of severe weather once again. And as we take a look at what the National Weather Service is saying, strong to severe storms with all modes possible. A low is forecast to kind of, well, make its way through. Now, this storm system is going to bring that risk of hail. And again, let me show you the hail risk and where those risks will be the greatest too. Let's go ahead and take a look at the risk, probabilistic on the risk forecast here. And this gives us an idea where we have these hatched areas here. We'll have the greatest risk of wind and hail. And there will be some spin in these storms moving through northern Missouri in particular, and any storms forming along that boundary in Texas will have a little more oomph, a little more upsidence, a little more rising air that will cause those storms to have a risk of being severe. So that is a look at your forecast. Again, from heavy snow to hail and a tornado risk in the Central Plains, we have it all. Back to the snow, I do want to show you just a little bit of an idea of what we're expecting with regards to severe weather nationally here in the mountains of Colorado. Now, I want to go into the Denver metro area. There are winter storm warnings in place all the way from Watkins and out near DIA here, right into Aurora, Glendale, Denver, Commerce City, Thornton, Westminster. And as you get into these foothill towns here, Lakewood, Edgewater, and Golden, that's where the snowfall amounts will be the greatest. Let's check out Golden. Forecast amounts there between 9 and 18 inches and 35-mile-per-hour winds, and the time frame Wednesday night into Friday morning. So it's a long-lived one. Hutch's high school alma mater out there, Aurora Central. Well, you can expect a little bit less snow out there, but they're still calling for 9 to 18 inches. Likely the heavier amounts will be on the western edges of the metro area. But again, pay attention to your local folks there. Winter storm warning. This means winds as high as 35 miles per hour. That could cause some whiteout conditions for travelers going through Lock Buoy all the way down to Parker, Colorado. Now, this storm system is going to have, look at this, a sharp cutoff here in Colorado Springs. There is a ridge of mountains here called the Palmer Divide. There's Monument Hill, there's Peyton, there's Callahan. All these areas are in the winter storm warning. Colorado Springs is not. Why? Well, this storm system will cause winds to blow in this fancy counterclockwise direction and upslope, and we start getting this effect here. So with the winds blowing up the terrain, you're going to wring out some snow, and it could be very, very heavy. But in Colorado Springs, because of the Palmer Ridge, it ends up becoming downslope in many of these areas. So with any luck at all, Pueblo, Colorado Springs, you'll get a lot less in the way of snowfall potential from this system. So heavy snowfall in the mountains of Colorado. Let me check in on your neighbors to the north as we go up towards the areas outside of Cheyenne. The National Weather Service is there in Cheyenne, Wyoming, reporting more wind potential, 45-mile-per-hour gusts, and 10 to 16 inches of snow for you fine folks. Mountains outside of Montana out there as we look in towards the West Yellowstone, 4 to 9 inches of snow there. That's the Gallatin Mountains as well as the Madison County areas until 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Expect wind, 4 to 9 inches of snow, and, well, that would be over the higher terrain. So, wintry weather for the mountains of Colorado, Wyoming, and parts of southern Montana, all the way into northern parts of New Mexico and northern parts of Arizona as well, where the yellow counties are all winter storm watches. So we'll watch the weather with you. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. I certainly appreciate your likes. Check out some of my other videos. You can find out a little bit more about this guy here, who loves to talk about the weather, but I also enjoy playing with the old hot rods and the guitars as well. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again right here